UW360 is proudly supported by BECU, a not-for-profit member-owned credit union. Pacific Office Automation, copy, print, workflow, and IT. Problem solved.
Hi everyone, I'm Carolyn Douglas. Welcome to UW360. Today we're going to follow famed choreographer B.B. Miller through rehearsals with the Chamber Dance Company. We'll look for bargains at the UW Surplus store, and we'll take a peek at the past with film of campus life from the 1960s. We'll tell you the story of WWAMI, a program that provides regional excellence in medical education while encouraging physicians to practice in rural and underserved areas. First up, though, we're going to take a look at some really unusual art inspired by microfluidic technology.
You may think what you're seeing is art, but that's only half the story. These images are byproducts of highly sophisticated scientific research.
It's just a routine part of staining that a lot of molecular biologists do. It's very standard, but it produced these beautiful patterns of cells on a petri dish.
Dr. Albert Folk is a bioengineer whose work gives him artistic inspiration. The art is beautiful to the naked eye, but its function is microscopic.
We are interested in developing technology for a variety of biomedical applications. It's called microfluidic technology because it's the manipulation of fluids on a sub-millimeter scale, essentially.
Much of the research conducted in the Folk Lab involves the production of microfluidic devices, tiny clear polymer instruments through which cells can be studied. The channels in the microfluidic devices create a more realistic and dynamic environment for cell research. This is an improvement on the traditional method of studying cells on a petri dish.
These three pictures were taken at different times with the same device by injecting different dyes.
Students in the Folk Lab take pictures and videos of this innovative process as part of their research and for use in scientific publications. These images are the foundation for what becomes Albert's art. But first, they must be hand-selected by the artist.
Sometimes I just go through the hard drives of my students, and it's actually a very random, very personal process where I just pick which images I find more beautiful.
With artistic license and a little help from Photoshop, the images are fit for an art gallery. In fact, Dr. Folk's work has been displayed in 3 different art installations across the University of Washington. I caught up with Albert at the Allen Library Research Commons and got a first-hand look at his most recent exhibition with a playful name.
That's precisely why I call the exhibit BAIT, short for Bringing Art into Technology. Images are meant to catch your attention towards the text that explain how the images were created and also what the science is behind the images.
Albert hopes his art will bring the beauty and mystery of bioengineering to expanded audiences of all types, not just the scientific community. Science and art are not subjects one might normally associate together, but Albert sees it differently.
I think I'm a scientist that at the end of the day, if I start manipulating images or thinking about art, then I become an artist. So I don't think these two roles are mutually exclusive. I think they're very complementary and they make me a more complete person.
For more information on Albert Folk's art or on any of the stories in this program, just go to our website at uwtv.org/UW360. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody. Today we're at University of Washington Medical Center. Besides delivering world-class care to patients, UW-Medicine continually trains new generations of doctors. And through the WWAMI program, some of those physicians will eventually practice in the kind of remote areas that might otherwise lack medical care.
Yeah, she's going on her own.
Katie Sheridan grew up on a farm in Alaska, and she loves her home state. As a family physician in Soldotna, she treats people she's known all her life.
I really absolutely love my practice. I love what I get to do every day. It's always a surprise.
Katie became a doctor through the University of Washington School of Medicine and a unique program called WWAMI. It allows students from surrounding Western states to complete their medical education while keeping one foot in their home communities.
The WWAMI program was a wonderful opportunity for me because it was a great way for me to go to school and still spend a lot of my time in the state of Alaska.
WWAMI is an acronym made up of the first letter of the 5 states, Washington, Wyoming, Alaska, Montana, and Idaho, that became part of a revolution in medical school education. Started in 1971, WWAMI was the direct result of discussions between UW doctors, community physicians, and others concerned about a rural healthcare crisis.
There were 434 towns, cities, and villages in Alaska, and 404 of them had no medical services at all, not even a nurse. So it became obvious that we did have a bit of a problem. We had additional problems in Idaho and Montana, and that was really probably the beginning of the WWAMI program.
Dr. Jack Leon, Dr. Robert Van Sitters, and Dr. Roy Schwartz joined forces to change the very mission of the University of Washington School of Medicine. They saw an obligation to produce the type of physicians most needed in rural areas.
What they needed was family doctors.
Most of the physicians in smaller places are primary care physicians. They're the foundation of the healthcare system. And of course, the University of Washington is at the vanguard of that because we have emphasized primary care medicine ever since the WWAMI program started. That was really the moment in time when the medical school changed its goal, changed its mission.
The first community clinical unit was started in Omak, Washington.
The program started modestly by placing medical school students from Seattle in rural primary care clinics.
It was a matter of getting them out of here and seeing a different way of doing medicine.
Then, the WWAMI program went a step further. What if students drawn from the member states could complete most of their medical school education outside Seattle?
Smoke, so that would be an issue in Montana in the summertime.
Today, curriculum from the University of Washington School of Medicine is available through colleges such as Montana State University in Bozeman.
They do their first year in Montana, their second year in Seattle, and then in the third and fourth years, they can be anywhere within the 5-state region. And they can do almost all of their third and fourth years in Montana if they really want to, or they can do almost all of it here in Seattle, or they can spend part of it in Alaska or Idaho or Wyoming.
While paying in-state tuition rates, students in the WWAMI program receive a world-class medical education from the University of Washington, delivered primarily in locations of their choice.
We do try to encourage students who come from these smaller communities to go into medicine, because there's a higher likelihood that they will come back either to that community or one that's very like it, because they're used to that lifestyle and they've grown to like it.
And so these are usually hypersensitive.
I grew up in Glasgow, Montana, which is in the northeast corner of Montana. I'd like to go back to a community similar to that because I saw the discrepancies in healthcare and just the difficulty they had recruiting physicians.
The WWAMI program has several initiatives encouraging young doctors to practice in rural communities. Between their first and second year in medical school, most students spend their summers working with preceptor doctors, where they see rural healthcare firsthand.
So there they are, acting as student doctors, working with the physicians, and it's just an eye-opening experience for them.
Former WWAMI student Peter Rice went to Alaska for adventure and stayed to practice medicine.
There's tremendous amount of need and opportunity for well-trained physicians here, and what it allows us to do is to practice really high-quality medicine in a town that's surrounded by wilderness.
So what many saw as a grand experiment back in 1971 has grown into a program unmatched in the U.S. close to half of WWAMI graduates end up as primary care physicians. Almost 2/3 choose a lifestyle and a practice in communities within the 5-state region.
I would never have believed that a program would grow to this complexity and richness. None of us would have.
The University of Washington is celebrating its 150th anniversary this year, and as part of that, UW360 is working with film archivists from the UW Library's special collections to show you scenes from campus life in the past. Today's time capsule gem is from way back in the 1960s about students trying to decide on a major.
Discovery, priceless product of man's mind. Synthesis of knowledge gathered in the past and its application for the future. Discovery, that magical moment of a lifetime when things are seen clearly, seen wholly for the very first time. Where and when does the moment occur in the life of a student when he discovers what it is he will do with his life? As a public service, the University of Washington presents Moment of Discovery. Here in the room of the Suzzallo Library that houses the university's rare book collection is Dr. Glenn Leggett, Provost of the University of Washington, to tell what the university does to help the student who has not yet chosen a career.
A good many students who come to the University of Washington know exactly what it is they're going to do when they get here. They know what their field of study is going to be, what their major is going to be. But a number of good students who come to the University of Washington, and should come, haven't yet reached that happy stage of assurance about what it is they're going to do. Well, now this state, or rather inability to come to a decision, is often of natural concern to their parents. Families tend to think that a student who hasn't made up his mind about exactly what it is he's going to do ought to defer his college education for a while. But if we look at it another way, in another sense, isn't it true that the University of Washington is a marvelous place to expose such an undecided student to the wonderful stimulation and the intellectual opportunities that lie ahead for him? Isn't this a good place for a student to discover those latent talents that he may have? The actual course of studies is worked out individually between the student and his advisor in the college. The student's own interests are taken into account, but at the same time he is exposed to a wide variety of courses and interests and different professors, in hopes that eventually he may discover exactly what field it is he is interested in pursuing. We have here dedicated professors, thoroughly knowledgeable in their field, with a special ability to impart their enthusiasm for their studies to their students. This pre-major program leads a student to test and develop his interest in many fields, and it leads him to an awareness of his intellectual potential, what those of us in educational circles often call his moment of discovery.
We're going back to the arts for our next story. The UW's Chamber Dance Company has a mission to present, record, and archive modern dance works of historical and artistic significance. In the fall of 2011, members of the company performed dances by famed choreographer Bebe Miller and had the opportunity to work with her directly.
That was great. I just went to tape, like, wow, that's fun.
Bebe Miller became a dancer at the age of 5. Raised in a South Brooklyn housing project, today she's a nationally honored choreographer. And in the fall of 2011, Bebe came to the University of Washington to help the Chamber Dance Company polish their performance of her work, Cantos Gordos.
It was really helpful to have Bebe come to the studio and work with us, I think, because she told us what she wanted and what her ideas were behind the movement, and that was really helpful to know where it was coming from, and then to watch her do it in her body and to see the movement in a new way.
So these dancers are really wonderful and willing and coming with their own styles, talents, so it's great.
Members of the UW's Chamber Dance Company are candidates for a Master of Fine Arts degree. Annually, these students fulfill the company's mission to honor and perform works of modern dance with historic and artistic significance. It's a rare treat and potentially daunting to work with the original choreographer.
In the back of your head, you're like, what if Bibi just watches this and, you know, it's like, it's wrong, everything's wrong, the steps are wrong, the motivation's wrong. So she didn't do that at all. She validated the work that we had put into it, and that was great.
It's tricky to just step into someone else's role. And if you're at a different shape, you're a different weight, you have different talents, what are you left to do? So, but you want to feel that there are a couple of points in the original choreography. I remember like, what did I do that for? I don't know, what is that? And so here's an opportunity to change, choreograph. I mean, that's what I do.
Cantos Gordos is choreographed to music by jazz musician Don Byron. During the performance, the music is live and often involves some improvisation.
There's a huge difference in dancing between live and recorded music.
While moving to pre-planned choreography, dancers find their own interpretations within the musical variations.
I think the quality of the music really matched that philosophy of the dance because of that freedom and of making it fit for who you are.
And then you switch to the leg here.
While the Chamber Dance Company members found Bibi's Cantos Gordos challenging, her style and philosophy were not. In fact, her presence and her attitude enhanced the joy of performing modern dance.
It was really nice working with Bibi because she was flexible about changing movement and figuring out how to make the steps work for me.
So, but you want to feel that he's grounding.
My belief was affirmed that dance is a live, beautiful art form. And I think it takes a lot of confidence as a choreographer and trust as a choreographer to give that over to the dancers. And that's one of the beauties of dance.
Welcome back, everyone. While we're here at UW Medical Center, we want to show you something else really interesting. This is ISIS, the Institute for Simulation and Interprofessional Studies. This is where students and medical professionals can practice techniques like in this virtual OR before actually performing them on real patients. As you can imagine, it offers huge benefits for both education and improving patient outcomes. ISIS trains thousands of medical students and healthcare professionals across the WWAMI region. Okay, now for something completely different. If you like bargains or maybe just sorting trash from treasure, this next story is definitely for you. Reporter Becky Herr takes us to the University of Washington surplus store.
Can you really put a price on this amount of awesome? It's almost overwhelming. This far and away beats the Asian disco umbrella we sold yesterday.
Sorting through the University of Washington's refuse may not sound like a dream job, but for these guys, every day is an adventure. Welcome to UW Surplus, where surplus and unwanted property from hundreds of university departments get a second chance.
Some assembly required.
Around 50,000 items move through UW Surplus every year, about half of which make it to the surplus store, for sale to university departments, government and nonprofit organizations, and to the general public.
We probably sell about 50% of the items that are surplus, and then we probably recycle about 45% of those items, and only about 5% are going to landfill.
Sometimes we go back and forth about, oh, should that really be recycled or dumpstered? And we all have stories of picking things out of a recycle bin or a dumpster bin and sort of saying, this is my challenge for the week, I'm going to find a buyer for this.
Items come in from hundreds of university departments, meaning they're as varied as they are unusual.
I have sold 2 airplanes. I've sold boats. We sell cars, and then your typical office furniture and equipment that we get all the time.
Yes, and most recently and strangely, I picked out a box of nothing but right women's shoes for the right foot. Why they were only right shoes, I have no idea. It was very strange. And someone came in and bought all of those right shoes. I would love to know what he's going to do with them, but they found a home, and they didn't have to get thrown away.
The store is packed wall to wall with interesting and unusual finds, but the real action happens on the auction block.
25, 25, 25 now 50, 25 now 50, 25 looking for 50, 50 now 75, 75 now 100.
6 to 8 times a year, UW Surplus holds a live public auction. Usually it's between 90 and 115 lots.
Sold $125 to bidder number 350.
A lot of large items, especially medical equipment, dental equipment, pallets of laptops. Those are the things that we'll put into the auction.
Sold $75.
So I was thinking for the coats, $30.
To better market the university's old, sometimes antique items, UW Surplus is taking a thoroughly modern approach.
We also started using kind of social media, set up a Twitter account. Now we're moving to Facebook.
And a lot of times we found buyers specifically because we've put something on Twitter and someone has retweeted us and it finds its way to somebody who's looking and they contact us, which is the best free advertising you can have. I think the key for that is to catch people off guard with humor, and it's hard to interest someone in, a pile of cinder blocks, but there's always a way. Even if it's just to get people to look at something because there's a funny tagline with it, it starts people talking, and people like to share things that make them laugh.
The university is not getting rich on its unwanted surplus items, but the surplus program is self-sustaining, meaning the university doesn't wind up paying hefty disposal fees. And at the same time, it's salvaging untold treasures for the next lucky bargain hunter.
And it's probably optimistic of us to think we could sell swimming pool dividers in November in Seattle, but there's a buyer out there and we'll find that person.
That's it for this edition of UW 360. You can catch this episode again on our website, where you'll also find links to more information on all our stories. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time with all new stories from the University of Washington.